Welcome to the IoT Unicorn Podcast. This is Pete Bernard from Microsoft. We have a very special guest today. We're going to be talking about long-term technology trends in the IoT space. So let's get started. Today on the pod, we have Guada Casuso, who is a principal program manager here at Microsoft. Guada has been working on some really interesting things around drones and a project called AirSim. And she's going to talk about the journey from automation to autonomy, as well as her journey from Argentina to Redmond. And some really good stuff in there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Guada, thanks for joining us on the IoT Unicorn. I really appreciate taking the time. And it's a sunny day in Seattle and Bellevue, so we're all inside here on Teams doing our thing. But again, thanks for making the time.
Of course. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me. And I really appreciate that you put this together. I think it's a great channel for all of us to learn from each other and also share and amplify experiences.
Yeah, great. It's and you're a Microsoft employee. We'll talk a little bit about the team that you work on at Microsoft, and that sounds pretty interesting as well. And so for those that have not already looked up Guada on LinkedIn, you'll see that she's involved in lots of interesting things, and we'll talk about those today. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about how did you get to Microsoft? How did you get to this role? How did you get to, work on the things that you're working on?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'm originally from Argentina. I also studied there, in fact. More than 10 years from now, I decided to join Microsoft, in fact, as part of the evangelism team in Argentina. Interestingly, my second day at the job, my manager asked me to focus on Azure. It was something that no one knew about. What was that about? And that's how basically I started my career. And I got the chance to work with a fantastic team while in Argentina. We help a lot of enterprise customers as well as partners there to start using the cloud, transforming their businesses, started new businesses. It was very, very fun times. Mm-hmm. And after around 2 years, I decided to move to US. In fact, Microsoft facilitated an opportunity, and I joined the Azure incubation team to work mainly on the enablement of ISVs. And my territory was very interesting, was Mexico, Central America, and Caribbean. So I was based in Miami. And I learned a lot about how to start scaling our cloud businesses, mainly on that territory and global, because we were part of the global team. And, we in Microsoft had these practices of share all the different things and different ways in which people is using technology all around the world. So after that, I was around 3 years or 4 living in Miami. Microsoft offered me the possibility of be close to HQ. So I joined the Azure Marketplace. And this was a continuum of what I did before, because mainly I continue focusing on ISVs and partners, but on their onboarding to the Azure Marketplace. So this is a way in which they were able to monetize their solutions on their SaaS models. So again, super, super interesting. And
right. And you went from Miami to Seattle. So that must have been that's a big deal.
Totally. Especially the weather, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say.
Yeah, but it was one of the best decisions that I made, because being close to Redmond and to all the engineering teams basically helps me to learn a lot. And also, after 1.5 years in Seattle, I took the challenge to move to Japan And I spent there less than a year helping the evangelism team, and their role that was very new for me. In fact, I joined as a business manager for the organization, and that was, in that moment is when I realized how much all the experience that I was gaining was going to help me to really help the field and the subsidiaries. And the experience in Japan was really, really good. It was intense. I learned so much about how to make businesses in Japan, as well, enjoying the amazing Japanese food.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
so,
love going to Tokyo. Tokyo is an incredible city, one of the most incredible cities on earth.
so
It's like a different world. Whenever I go there, I feel like I'm in the Blade Runner movie or something. It's
oh,
just
actually,
fantastic.
absolutely, especially if you go to Shibuya or one of that
Yeah,
places.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to just
Hmm.
being able to travel to Japan. I think that's just life changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you're mentioning about building businesses, and I'm an engineer by training as well. And I think that one of the things I've learned over the years is that the technology is key. It's the fuel to the engine of the technology business, obviously, but the building the businesses in and of themselves is really challenging, especially kind of we'll talk a little bit more about IoT and this kind of heterogeneity of IoT, but sort of making this into business that people can really and help them grow their businesses is really an interesting challenge above and beyond all the technology stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you're at Microsoft, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about the team that you're on, and the structure of that team. I mean, you've obviously talked about kind of your journey getting here, but tell me more about the team that you're on now.
Oh, totally, totally. And just to finalize the kind of the
Oh,
story or
sorry.
my journey is basically after being in Japan, I returned to Seattle. And I tell you, I choose Seattle. I fell in love with Seattle after a while, and basically I joined the BCI team. I'm part of the Autonomous Systems Organization, and they're
Hmm.
that. And our main goal is to build software and AI to empower and enable autonomous systems. And it's so
Excellent.
interesting because when you see the trends today, we are moving from a world that is progressing slowly from automation to autonomy. And that is
Mm.
exactly what my organization is creating or is helping to create, right? That is, what is the journey and how can we help industries to really embrace that and have the technology pieces? So it's a normal transition. We are very, very interesting team in terms of a structure because
Hmm.
my organization, I would say, is integrated by, we acquired, in fact, a startup a couple of years ago that is Bonsai. So we have amazing brains in the teams that came from startup world. And after 2 years of acquisition, we still see the disruption and the way in which the startup is challenging us to run at the higher speed and,
Mm.
thinking in a different way. So that is just amazing. Then our organization also came from research too. So we have researchers in the team that are always thinking beyond what we have in the current scenarios, and it's always challenge status quo, thinking about how do we build better solutions, more creative, and of course the talent is just mind blowing. So we have that, and then we have all the folks that we've been in incubation teams before, from product management, from what it is like partners, GTMs, customer success. So it's a
Right,
very,
right.
very solid and very diverse organization. I'm so
Mm.
happy, to have been working with that level of smart people there. And well, it's a normal transition where we see like a lot of the folks that has been in innovative scenarios in the company for the past years. We kind of like got together now, and we are trying to build the technologies that are going to define industries in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting when, I've been on teams too that we've acquired companies, and it's always fascinating with, Microsoft's a pretty old company, relatively speaking, in the tech world. So getting kind of that fresh perspective from startups is always a kind of a real interesting kind of energy boost, I think, for folks at Microsoft, and to get a new perspective when you combine different disciplines and different backgrounds, especially different companies together. So that must be pretty, pretty exciting in terms of getting new ideas on the table, right? So you come in the morning, you get a cup of coffee, and then what happens? What are you working on these
Yeah.
days?
So we work with age to technology. I always said, Pete, I always said termo of mate because I'm Argentinian, so I have to
Okay.
embrace
Okay.
my culture in spite of my everyday
No
life.
problem. Okay.
But what I my main focus now within the team is to work with simulations. Mainly, we are building product components starting from AirSim. That basically AirSim is a near realistic simulation engine that is for autonomous systems and robots. In fact, it was released a couple of years ago as an open source project. Everybody can go and take a look at AirSim on GitHub. It has a community that has been growing over the last years. It has, I think, more than 1,600 users at this point. And we have like so great scenarios. There are people that is using AirTeam for from animal poaching to drones to um, ground robots, warehouse inspection. So it has been fascinating the way in which people is again using AirSim to really enable autonomous scenarios. And the main I would say the main area for AirSim are the perception pieces and the intelligence, and that is where we are focused on now. And mainly we for this couple of months ago, and I think that we are going to continue on that path for the next one, is we want to optimize AirSim for drones and aerial robots. And we want to ensure that we can help and make AirSim a product that can support from flight paths, support the scenarios where we can provide the regulators with an environment to really improve safety. When you have simulations today, simulations really helps to improve the quality of the software. Part of that
Sure.
is the intelligence that you have running in the edge of all these autonomous systems. So if you are able to simulate the scenarios where you can get data that can help train the AI, that is a huge gain and a huge enabler. So we want to make sure that users have a tool that they can use in different environments, that they can test different robots, drones, definitely as the core piece of that, and that you can play with different variables. So that way you have a safe a safe environment that is risk averse, that is cost efficient, and that you
Mm-hmm.
can mix real data to
And
really
so
autonomous.
AirSim is, it's not just for drones, but drones is a big focus, but you could use it for any kind of autonomous system simulation.
Absolutely. In fact, the current open source version of AirSim has been used for a lot of other scenarios. It's just we want to optimize the experience for starting with UIVs. And then again, going back to the beginning, it's like listening to our customers and see what they want to see us building so we can basically help the industry to move forward.
Right. Fantastic. Cool. So I saw an article the other day. I think you had posted on LinkedIn around some of
Yeah.
the work that your team was doing around drone navigation and sort of recognizing objects and sort of basically using perception to understand what isn't being seen to help sort of navigate, in real time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, as part of our team is based on research, and we've been collaborating with a lot of universities in different contests and efforts. So, for example, the DARPA competition, the SUPTI competition, where basically you use ground robots and drones to navigate underground mines and identify objects where you don't really know where the mines are going to be before I think, 1 week before the competition. So it's a very dynamic environment, and we train the robots and the drones with AirSim, so they can basically go and perform the tasks in the real world. So that is one, and then the team also participated. In fact, coordinated and then participating in the NeoRIPS competitions, where we presented a competition around drone racing. And drone racing is one of the hardest scenarios for autonomy, because if you can imagine the speed, the different drones that are competing there, and then you have you have to use perception in order to navigate the different fences and the environment that can be challenging. And, it's very fun, and doing FPV again is challenging, as if we are able to use our technology to really solve that type of problems, that position us in a fantastic way or fantastic space where we can help the industry with more complex tasks.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and we, I also, when we have people on the podcast, we talk about sort of favorite implementations or favorite deployments. But I know that drones can play a critical role for search and rescue, and and other types of dangerous tasks where that really is incredible in terms of their versatility for movement and sending back important data. But in your experience, I mean, what are some of the deployments or uses of that technology that have kind of really stuck in your mind as being super impactful?
No, and I totally agree with you. And when you said impactful, I can't avoid thinking about the current scenario that we are facing today in the world. Right. Because of the situation with the virus, we are being invited to be creative about the solutions that we need to implement in order to, support the current infrastructure. And I think that will go from emergency response situations where you can use drones today for basically transport from medicines, organs, to really help with logistics, the role that delivery will play on all of this, where you can basically automate some scenarios and be very efficient in how you are going to start delivery thing. And unfortunately, the industry is not ready yet to go fully autonomous, because regulators are still figuring out ways in which we can provide all these services in a safety way. Okay, sure. And I think that again, we are getting more speed on that side, but definitely as we move forward, being able to unlock all these scenarios again as delivery, or being able to have even aerial taxis in the future, will help a lot. And I can see scenarios like the one that we are living today that are going to be definitely supported by the evolution of this technology. So that's a way to see, how can we help from the efforts that the team is doing, like basically building simulations, ensure that we can fly safe, that we can test all the combinations, and that we can empower these technologies to help us in our daily lives and business.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. When we used to go to trade shows, we don't anymore, but there would always be like a demonstration, or not a demonstration, but they'd show like the, drone taxi, it's like the one person air taxi. That's something I will never get in. I will never use one of those, because I'm just like, I just think that that's like a good way to die. But basically, but putting humans aside, I mean, one of the actually interesting ones that I saw, and I don't know if they're still deploying that, but they were using it. Lifeguards were using drones to help, quickly get flotation devices out to people that were in trouble. And so, if the lifeguard saw someone out there, I spend a lot of time in Cape Cod in the summer, and to swim out to somebody, it takes a while to get out there sometimes. And so if you can deploy a drone to drop a flotation device, out there in a few seconds to somebody, you can really potentially save someone's life. I thought that was a pretty cool application for drones. But I can imagine, like with the air sim and the ability to train these drones, and the drones have the more autonomous, abilities for navigation, then, you're talking about a lot more complex scenarios that they could be used for, that we probably just haven't even thought of yet, but I'm sure our customers will. But no, it's fascinating. Are we going to use any drones on Microsoft campus anytime soon? Will I get my chicken teriyaki delivered by drones or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure that we will very soon. In fact, we are having some conversations about how to implement that. But before I tell you, I'm one of the things that really fascinates me about my job is that we are building the technology that will help even save lives, right? We just like a month and a half ago, I think we participated of the workshop where the NASA put together a couple of days where we were discussing how to use new technologies for emergency response situations. So they're being able to support firefighters or scenarios where wildlife is involved, from animal poaching or identify species that are starting to be extinct, and being able to count them or localize them. It can be an impact that is just tremendous. And the more intelligence that we can bring to these drones, the better that they will help us. So definitely think that we go from there, from helping saving some lives in the world to, more I think, funny scenarios or things that will help us daily life to pizza deliveries.
Sure.
Right? But I tell you, I think again, the piece that I really, really like about this is that we have this challenge on how can we build this software that really helps to build better solutions. And when I said helps to build better solutions, I mean in a safety way. When you think about we talk a lot about the responsible use of AI, right? So we really need to ensure that if we are going to provide autonomy, we can train these agents to really be able to navigate dynamic environments that are going to be involving people, other robots, other things in the environments that, needs to collaborate. And I think that is where simulations and, again, AI are going to play a big, big role. And I'm just thrilled about helping to shape that.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I mean, I think when you talk about movement, in the real world amongst people, that is one of the most challenging technical problems that we need to solve. So that's awesome. That it must be exciting to be able to work on that on a daily basis. Hey, so any closing thoughts for us that we should be looking out for? If people want to learn more about the work that your team is doing, what should they do to kind of learn more and get more engaged?
Totally. So I think that the best way to be connected with us is to go to AKSMS/AS, Autonomous Systems.
Oh, that's a good one.
So we announce regularly upgrades on the technology, and we will be releasing very interesting features and products in the next month. So I will say, everybody just keep an eye on that, or just I'm in LinkedIn, so any questions or so, happy to jump in conversations and continue feeding our creativity and efforts.
Cool. Great. So I will definitely check out that URL, aka.ms/AS. That's a good one. Okay, fantastic. Well, Guada, I really appreciate you taking the time on this sunny day to to join us here on the podcast. And, I'm sure we will see each other on campus at some point in the future, hopefully not too long.
Totally. Thanks, Pete. Really appreciate that. And, if we don't meet soon, let's see if we can send you a delivery or something.
Yeah, that's right. Use those names.
Take care.
All right, take care.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. This is Pete Bernard. You've been listening to the IoT Unicorn. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for the next pod.